Today, we are excited to welcome Helen Forbes Fields, President and CEO of YWCA Greater Cleveland. As a lifelong advocate for Cleveland, Helen brings experience, strategic thinking, and resilience to her role to carry forward YWCA's mission and vision towards true racial and gender equity. Helen previously served as Executive Vice President and General Counsel of United Way of Greater Cleveland, a position she held for over 5 years. And she came to United Way with over 31 years of experience practicing law with the Forbes, Fields, and Associates law firm. She is actively engaged in the community, including serving as a trustee for the Cleveland Museum of Art and the Board of Trustees of Cuyahoga Community College. She has been profiled in several magazine publications for her community and civic interests and has been honored with numerous awards for her commitment to the community, including a Crane's Notable Woman in Nonprofits, Smart Business Progressive Woman Honoree, and a Girl Scouts Woman of Distinction, to name a few. She is also a graduate of our Leadership Cleveland class of 1994. We are looking forward to learning from her experience and her passion for the community, and please welcome Helen.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel, and thank you for everyone for coming today during your lunch hour. I really appreciate you giving up your sandwich and lunch to hear a little bit about the YWCA. We're so grateful to be able to talk more about the YWCA. We take advantage of every opportunity that we can because we find that many people really don't understand the depth and the breadth of the services that we provide to the community. And no, we do not operate fitness clubs. That's the M. We are the YWCA, and we say the W makes the difference in terms of services that we provide to the community. We actually do provide direct services, as I mentioned, really related to homelessness and mental health and early learning to our various communities. But I'll tell you, Rachel mentioned my resume. I wanted to give you a bit about me and how I ended up at the YWCA, what my journey was really like, or has been over the past years, almost 40 years working in the community. I have always been very directed and committed to serving the community, which of course started during those 31 years of practicing law, where I actually focused my practice in employment discrimination and wrongful discharge cases. So that gives you an idea of the type of cases I was working on. I actually worked on both sides, on the defense side and plaintiff side. So I was able to see it from both lenses. But I did that approximately for 31 years, moved from private practice to the United Way of Greater Cleveland. I served there as Executive Vice President and General Counsel, and I was very fortunate to be there to learn about the various nonprofits in Northeast Ohio, about 2,500 of us actually that exist, providing various services throughout Cleveland. And I was always amazed by the work that nonprofits are engaged in, truly understanding their community, being truly vested in their community in terms of the services that they provided. While I was also over at United Way, we talked very honestly and openly about racism and its connection to poverty in Cleveland. Our population, of Black population within the city of Cleveland, is about 47%. Cleveland led and may still lead in terms of childhood poverty. And there was no doubt about the impact of racism and poverty in the city. And from there, I was there for just about 6 years. I came over to the YWCA actually 2 years ago. And here at the YWCA, I serve as CEO. And our mission is really about eliminating racism and empowering women. And we do that through those programs I mentioned to provide direct services to women who are often coming to us in the most dire hour of need. And we're here to provide nurture, care, and support to so many. So how do we do that? We exist over in 3 buildings, actually. We have Our main office right here at 40th and Prospect. We operate a women's shelter right at 22nd and Payne. And we also have a building on the near west side, about 72nd and Franklin Avenue, which is called Cogswell Hall. We are providing at our Early Learning Center, which is located at 40th and Prospect, our Early Learning Center. That's a two-generational model. It's a preschool. We are teaching, making sure young children ages 3 to 5 are kindergarten ready, but we're also providing wraparound services to their parents. Many of our children who come to us have suffered some type of trauma, and it's often related to homelessness. We have families who come to us from the shelter. We provide, or the several shelters throughout Cleveland. We're providing transportation. We provide meals to our children. We provide gas cards to our parents. We're helping our parents to navigate housing, letting them know about housing that is available to them. I will give you a really quick story. We had a preschool graduation 2 weeks ago. We graduated our largest class of 19 5-year-olds who are headed to kindergarten. And in my own cynicism, I didn't quite understand a preschool graduation. First time I've ever attended one, but I thought, you know what? You need to let go of some of these middle class values. And really, what I learned when I came there, that everybody should experience the joy of seeing your child progress. Our parents saw that their 5-year-olds were now kindergarten ready and will move on to kindergarten. And there was absolute joy in the ceremony, watching those children move on to the next step, and the YWCA being there to ensuring that they have had success and can move on to that next step. We had a dad who told us that he was a single parent, that he was homeless when he came to us. We helped him navigate housing, move on to permanent housing, and he would not have been able to make those steps without the help of the YWCA. So that's the type of work that we're doing in our Early Learning Center. We have about 40 children. We cap it at 40 children so we can have more direct care and access to our children. We have a clinical director with our kids and really working very closely with them with that trauma-informed care approach. We also provide services, as I mentioned, in our women's shelter. There, we have women who are coming to us, perhaps 200, at least 200 each day, that are seeking shelter with us. Many have mental health illnesses or mental health diagnosis, but several do not. They have just found themselves in a situation where they need immediate housing, and we are there to provide that care and support to the women. And we call them our guests because no one should stay in a homeless shelter for a long period of time. They are our guests, and we work very closely to move them to the next stage in their journey in finding housing. Also here at Prospect, we have on our second floor what we call Independence Place. We have 23 apartment units on our second floor, and that's where we house young adults ages 18 to 24 years old. Many of our young adults have aged out of foster care or have been touched by the child welfare system in some way. They have found themselves in a situation where they have no place to call home. And so they come to us at Independence Place, where we suggest that they stay with us for at least 3 years so that they do not end up back into homelessness. We have life coaches that are assigned to each tenant that comes to us, and also a clinical director here. And we're providing them with a skill set to manage, to navigate the big world outside our doors. We're teaching them about financial literacy, how to cook meals, how to attend to your own medical care, and skills that we hope that they will take with them and be equipped when they leave our doors and really go into independent living. And as I mentioned, the building that we have on the near west side, we call Cogswell Hall. That is a building where we have 41 apartments, and it is focused on older adults. We are extremely happy when we are able to navigate housing from our shelter, where some of our guests are able to move into Cogswell Hall if they're willing. And there at Cogswell, we are able also to provide programming so that our older adults are not isolated. We really focus on socialization, medical care as well, so that our older adults are taken care of. Our average age there is 50, and we have many of our older adults who've stayed with us into end of life. So what we find that working with our community, especially the young adults who have faced incredible obstacles in their lives and they're attempting to navigate the world, often alone, it's really hard not to be changed by that. To not to be changed, you want to be changed in terms of what you can provide to all of our community, especially our young adults, to really lead a life where they not just survive, but are able to thrive when they leave our doors. So we say here, if we are able to change the trajectory of just one life, we have truly done our job. So we are constantly digging deep about our impact here at the YWCA, making sure that our programs are really up to snuff and really helping our community really survive, not just, as I said, survive, but to thrive. So we're always looking at meaningful wraparound services for our parents. We're looking at navigating our guests into housing within 90 days of coming to the shelter, or as I mentioned, programming for our young adults that can extend from financial security to taking care of themselves mentally as well as physically, having art therapy and our socialization programs for our older adults. And lastly, many of you may have seen our commitment to racial justice. We have a program every April where it offers social justice skills to the broader community. We create the curriculum. It's not only offered here in Cleveland, but it's offered, the curriculum that we develop is offered across the entire YWCA network. That's 194 YWCAs across the US. And our curriculum is offered so that all of us can take an introspective moment of reading articles, looking at podcasts around subjects such as transportation, how racism, sexism, ageism may impact transportation, impact the music industry, impact hair and hair discrimination. Those are just some of the topics that we have looked at, and we will continue that program going into 2025. So that's YWCA in a nutshell. I think I'm right under a minute, Rachel, and going through our programs very quickly. And I am just happy to talk to anyone that may have questions about the YWCA and the impactful work that we are engaged in each and every day in the Cleveland community.
Great, Helen, thank you. So let's jump in. And as you look across the populations that you serve and the various service models that you have, what are some of those consistent major needs that you are hearing from your participants? And how are you working to help them specifically address those?
Well, I would say one consistent need is mental illness. And it's interesting, when I was at United Way and we were all going through the pandemic, we knew going through the pandemic that mental illness would be a key concern when we came out of the pandemic. And that's certainly what we see. We certainly see it at our women's shelter. I would say 80% of the women that come to us suffer from a mental health diagnosis or have a mental health diagnosis. There are not readily available services. I've had a colleague who's now retired who would say we were or are a de facto mental health institution at right there at 22nd and Payne. The young people that we serve here at Independence Place, you must have some type of disability to stay with us, a physical disability, mental health diagnosis. I would say at least 90 to 95% of the young people that we serve have a mental health diagnosis. But you know what? If I had moved from house to house to house, having refrigerators padlocked, not developing any skills on how to move beyond being 18 years old, I think everybody on this call would have a mental health diagnosis as well. Our young people, as I mentioned, are the trauma that they have, many of them have experienced, is often related to homelessness. So a lot of our focus is around those who are unhoused, those who suffer from mental illness, and making sure that everyone is connected with some type of service. We don't provide mental health services directly here, but really being there as that support to ensure that our population does seek the necessary help that they need, because no one should stay with us for a long period of time. We don't want our young people to stay with us beyond 3 years. We find that's kind of the sweet spot where they should be able to move on. They don't need a life coach, hopefully, every day. They can move on. They've had that support, that nurture from life coaches, from a clinical director, and being able to move on. So that's what we hope, that we're here to provide that support that everyone needs and really help them make that jump into navigating independence when they leave our doors.
And what organizations might you partner with to be able to help address some of the needs for services you might not provide? And are there any areas where you're seeking partners to meet some of those needs?
Oh, absolutely. You know what? You couldn't come out of what United Way without believing in partnerships and collaboration. So, probably coming right through the door, some of my questions were, what was the medical care that everyone was receiving? We've always had a collaboration with Metro Health and Care Alliance at our Norma Her Women's Center. They come twice a week to provide medical care to our guests over at the women's shelter. What we did was expand that throughout our network. I called over to Care Alliance. I see a trustee, Renee Richard is there. We've talked about providing or setting up a partnership with Care Alliance so that they could come in, provide hearing and vision testing for young children, also dental care. And so what we found, it became so popular with just our young children that we then expanded it to our young adults so that they could learn how to be proactive about their own medical care. And so one day we had a dental clinic here. We had 19 people that were signed up for the dental clinic, and we were told that was the most that the mobile dental clinic had ever had, and they could only serve about 13. And so we knew that those were really needed, of course, services that our population needed. We also expanded medical care assistance over at Cogswell Hall for our older adults. Neighborhood family practice is probably 2 blocks away. And so we bring in the nurses so they develop those relationships with our older adults so they become comfortable about seeking their medical care, and they can practically walk right over there if that's necessary. That's something that we started as soon as I arrived 2 years ago. We've since expanded. We have the Cleveland Museum of Art. I happen to be a trustee there, so we have a partnership with them to come in and work with our young adults. Our young children. Beck Center of Arts. Arts is an amazing release that everyone should experience. It's not a benefit, a privilege aspect of life. It should be part of your everyday life. So we're committed to bringing the arts with all into our network and to really ensure that all of our lives here in the YWCA are inspired through the arts. So that's an additional type of partnership. So we're always looking at partnerships. We're looking at computer skills. We had a partnership in terms of developing computer skills. Our guest at the shelter loved that type of program. It lost funding, so we're always looking for things like that. Now we're partnering with Ohio Means Jobs, so we can have a job fair, talk to our community about developing resumes, interview skills, and then move to the next step of gaining employment. So yes, we highly believe in collaboration, because many of us serve the same community. It's just that we're providing different services. So why not take advantage? If I have 1,300 people that we're serving each year at the shelter alone, why not take advantage of that? If you can bring in your services, we have a dedicated community here that can benefit from other services that we're not providing. So we're always looking to deepen partnerships among our sister nonprofits.
And if someone is interested in partnering with YWCA, how does one go about getting in touch?
You just call me 881-6878, and I pick up the phone. Absolutely.
So you mentioned funding. So let's talk a little bit about what is the funding model for YWCA and where might you have needs coming up for the services you offer?
So if representatives from my sister organizations are on here, you understand nonprofits are under-resourced. We provide these services, necessary services to the community that are highly needed. Our biggest contract at the shelter is through Cuyahoga County. We are operating the women's shelter. And as I said, we have 200 women that come to us each day. But you know what? We can't even handle, some days we can't even handle the amount of women that need immediate shelter. So we're providing that necessary service to the community. And it's hard work and it's difficult to get funding. It's not something sexy. You can't put your name, you don't want to put your name outside the door to see your name every time you ride up and down the street. So it's continual work. We all know that, of trying to raise funding to operate our agency. So we do operate with governmental funding. We receive, as I mentioned, our largest amount from Cuyahoga County for the shelter. We receive a small amount from the city of Cleveland. We have contracts with HUD for permanent supportive housing. We have some very dedicated foundations who have been with us for years, individuals who have given to us, and we're always looking to expand that base. What I find, our support, we're so grateful for, but often it doesn't increase. It will decrease, but it doesn't often increase. And so we're always looking to expand that base. But you know, that's probably what I do. 80% of my job is to go out and raise necessary dollars so that we are able to continue to provide these necessary services.
Can you share a little bit more around the racial equity program that you have hosted over the past few years and some of the outcomes and takeaways that those who have participated have shared about their experience?
Yeah, sure. We began the racial justice challenge prior to the pandemic, prior to the murder of George Floyd. My predecessor, Margaret Mitchell, actually started the program. So that probably was about 2018. And she recognized there was a need, not just to, as I said, take this introspective walk in terms of building your own social justice lens, your social justice muscle, but that it was necessary just to create a certain level of sensitivity and awareness among the community. And so the program has certainly built over the years. Undoubtedly, after the murder of George Floyd, our numbers went through the roof in terms of participants in the program. We really seek out individuals such as DEI experts among corporations, our corporate partners, and other nonprofits, so that our curriculum can be part of their programming that they're offering in the workplace. We're reaching out to schools as well and individuals who sign up for our program. So we've seen an increase over the years, but I would say over the last couple of years, we've started to see that decline. I remember I was in a program about diversity, and someone mentioned fatigue, which I can't, many of us can't imagine racial fatigue because we live with it each and every day in terms of the realities of racism. But the one of my other partners who mentioned there was a certain fatigue about talking about the subject. And so what we're seeing, and we've noticed over the last couple of years, the numbers have started to decrease. But we keep at it because this is part of our mission. Part of our mission is to continually educate about, as I mentioned, racism and sexism, ageism, other types of behavior that marginalizes one community from another. So that is part of our mission and part of our DNA and the work that is necessary for us to be committed to. The YWCA has always been committed to this work. It's not new for us. This type of curriculum and program started about 2018, but we've been committed to this type of work for many, many years.
And I highly encourage anyone on the call who has not participated to do so. It is a fantastic program.
And let me say, we produce an amazing amount of material. It's a lot of material over 21 days. And so what we do here at the YWCA, we certainly participate, all of us participate in those 21 days, but we start to delve deeply. We have lunch and learns now every month to take a topic. So going back to that material every month so we can keep our knowledge, up to date and always thinking about our own social justice lens and how we're looking at our fellow individuals so that we're treating everybody in a fair manner.
So, Helen, let's look ahead. What is on the horizon over the next few years for the YWCA?
Well, as I mentioned before, what I spend a lot of my time doing is raising dollars and always keeping doing the best I can to keep YWCA out there in the forefront so that people know about the work that we're engaged in, how we are here to empower women, eliminate racism, and how important that work is. That work never will never stop. Its importance will never end, and it's our commitment, and it's our job to really keep it out there in the forefront so people understand how important the work that we do is to the community. So, we're looking at that. We're looking at other programs in terms of how we expand our offerings and expand our funding as well, and making sure that people really develop an interest in the YWCA and keep us top of mind. But I don't see us leaving, we're not leaving the areas that we're committed to. And all YWCAs are primarily committed to the areas that I mentioned, early learning, mental illness, some house, as we do, provide shelter to young adults who have aged out of foster care. Others are committed to shelters that are focused just on those who have suffered from domestic violence. I mean, we all operate within those pillars that I mentioned. So what's forward with us? We'll see what we'll be engaged in the future, but it's certainly to maintain our programs and see how we can expand because the need never stops. And so I can only see that we expand our offerings to the community that really needs us.
And for those who are interested, how can someone be involved, whether through volunteering or supporting the organization?
We have a very vibrant volunteer operation here. You can look for us at YWCA of Cleveland and .org, and we have contact us or sign up for volunteer opportunities. And certainly giving is always appreciated financially as well. Um, it's interesting, I was saying some things are sexy to give money to, and others are not. Some areas that we provide services, we are able to have more interest in. Our early learning center, people love to give to make sure little children are highly educated, and that's what we're very committed to. But when we start talking about 18 to 24-year-olds who are often Black females, some Black males, the interest seems to drop off tremendously. It drops off when you talk about older adults as well. And so that's part of our job too, to always expand the knowledge about how the need is so great across generations and that resources are always needed.
Well, Helen, we are so thankful you were able to join us today to share such important work that you and your team are doing in our community. And I encourage everyone on the call to please follow up, get involved, become a part of the amazing work of the YWCA. So, Helen, thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thank you all for being here. I see some great faces on here. So it's always wonderful to see friends who are here to support the YWCA. Thank you. And thank you all for all that you do as well.